Hello and welcome back to the Screaming Cinema Podcast. We are knee deep in October. We're full Halloween mode here. I think all of us have been watching a lot of movies. And today we have a fun episode where we're going to talk about movies that if you don't already consider them a classic, that they should be a classic. It's some of our favorite Halloween films. Underrated, personal picks. I guess it all depends on who's listening to the episode. Some of us think we have found a gem where other people have seen it before, and other people might think that my picks are shit, but I don't really care. Have on the episode today James Cole Clay. What's up, man?
Hey, man, I am just knee deep in pumpkin guts here.
Ooh. I was almost going to say time went off throwing it in the trash.
Nope, that was last week, pal. I moved on.
And Preston's here too.
And I'm just picking up the seeds and putting them in the oven and eating them.
Dude, I love doing that. That's so good.
Me too. I feel like I just can't figure out the right timing in Texas because I've lived here like 7 years, but in Seattle you can carve your pumpkin on October 1st, and then on October 31st it's still good. Here, if you don't carve it like one day before, and it could have like a random 80-degree day, and then it's just melted on your porch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I have 3 of those like deformed looking pumpkins that you can like stack. We have that in the corner, and I think they'll be okay because they're pretty much shaded, but I have one that's like sitting on a hay bale, and it's like we had it for like a week, and one side is like not good at all, and I turned it around, and it's gonna be fucked by next week.
I just put up a big spider thing. We got it from Amazon. Like, it's from our second story. We put it in the window and then put it through, and then I got like a little purple light up on it, so I just started kind of finishing the yard decorations.
I think I got the exact same thing. I started to put it up. I only have the web, but my wife put in like all these really fun decorations where it has like a skull hand sticking out of our flower bed. And
nice.
Oh, so I think my neighbor has that too. So it it's like a tent. It's like tented in a sense, like tent.
Yeah.
Like you can clip it on something like the top of your roof or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you can put other decorations inside of the web.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, my neighbor had that, and I saw him putting it up, and I was like, that is so sick.
It's kind of off topic, but it cracks me up. I think it was last year, the year before, people who do the really brutal Halloween decorations, or it literally looks like it's a crime scene. I think there was one, I can't remember if it was in Dallas or not, but it looked like a guy like jumped from a second story roof and like splattered his head all over the pavement, and there's like another body in a dumpster or something, and they just take it like way too far, and people like actually call the police to see if something's wrong or something's going on. So I always appreciate people who can do that. I'm sure you're the same way, Preston. I probably have a little bit scarier decorations, but even the spider, my daughter's like, it's going to get me. I'm like, no, it's plastic and fake, and tried to show it to her and she ran away. So,
man, I wish I had that time for that. I remember, just trying not to get too off topic, but remember watching MTV Cribs and Pink and Carrie Hart.
Yeah.
They had their guest room was a murder scene. So they would never have anybody at their house because everybody was too scared to stay in there.
That's awesome. Like, yeah, it is. I like that. I think today too, if you're listening to this, we're also going to be doing a video recording of it. We all have our picks on physical media as well, whether it's a standard release or boutique label release. I guess probably a few of each, but so if you're listening to this, you can always jump over to the YouTube channel or Instagram to check this out too. But let's go ahead and get things started off. Cole, you want to start with one of your Halloween picks here?
Yeah, this is a little movie called Friday the 13th.
I haven't heard of it. Is it indie?
Oh,
yeah.
nice.
I mean, at one point, I guess it was. No, this is a movie Preston put me on to. Y'all know what it is already, but it's Sleepwalker. So I have Scream Factory edition.
I love those bright colors.
Yeah, for show and tell today. I love this one too.
I think it's a Whitehead illustration.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. It'll say it on the back, I think. It'll say
like
illustrated by.
Oh, yeah. Devin Whitehead. Yep.
Yeah.
So, this is really great. It has a cat right here named Clovis. He's fantastic if you look very close. Clovis. No, this movie is just insane. So it's a Stephen King adaptation. I don't really know much about the adaptation, like the story that it's based off of. But I have this on Blu-ray and VHS. So I will say that it's directed by Mick Garris. Which Critters movies did he do?
2. I think he did 2. Hocus
So-
Pocus.
Oh yeah, he directed Hocus Pocus. Holy shit, I totally forget about that.
Well,
So he's
did he direct it or did he write?
he wrote it. He wrote it.
Okay.
Well, he's the guy with long white hair. That's
Spe-
like very
Dude,
nice.
speaking of Mick Garris, he makes a cameo in a Blumhouse, Welcome to Blumhouse movie. I was like, holy shit. Yeah, because you can't miss him. He has long
Yep.
Yeah.
white hair.
He's also got a little podcast too.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's cool. There's this I think it's on the Criterion edition for The Brood, I think is what it is, or Videodrome or Scanner. So it's a David Cronenberg, and he and John Carpenter on a Criterion disc, and it's like a 45-minute long conversation about them just talking about like filmmaking.
I've seen that one, like the round table. It's like there. Yeah, I've seen that
Mick
one.
he worked publicity for Universal at the time, and he wanted to do this, and so he put it on in a studio, and now it's on Criterion, and it's fantastic. It's a great special feature. But he's an interesting guy. I like him a lot. He's really cool. Seems really nice, kind guy, and always has like a nice insight. But he made a bonkers movie. Honestly, I don't think this movie's very well regarded. It's kind of about cat vampires,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
A mom vampire and her son. That it's very Oedipal, like quite literally. I think they get physical,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, they get physical, but they
Wait.
turn into cat people.
Cat vampires, like not cats or vampires, like humans turn into cat vampires.
Yeah, so if you look at this guy played by Brian Krause, right?
Oh
here,
yeah.
that's what they look like,
Okay.
and they're very, very scared of cats. Very.
I'm
that's
trying to
where
look up
Clovis
some
comes in.
stills. That's awesome.
So, but the jumping off point of the film is fantastic. It's got Madge Amick from Twin Peaks, and she works at like this movie theater, and she gets picked up by this hot rodding guy played by Brian Krause, who seems pretty nice, and he's kind of a bad boy at school, and he insults this teacher. I'm trying to think who plays the teacher. Preston, do you remember?
Is it the no, I'm gonna have to look.
And yeah, so I'm trying to see, but anyway, the movie has a really fun kind of teeny bopper jumping off point, but then the kid goes home. Yeah, Ron Perlman is in it. Yeah, I forgot Ron Perlman is in it. Toby Hooper is in it. Yeah, I forgot this movie has so many cameos.
Definitely not well regarded either. I was just looking it up on
No,
Wikipedia
it's not.
when you were talking about it, and yeah, the 38% Rotten Tomatoes. That doesn't exist. But
sadly, it's been a year since I've seen it, but it's really fun, man. I'm gonna have to watch it again this year. I'm gonna get Erica to watch it with me. But yeah, so Stephen King wrote this screenplay, and it's got to be like really coked up Stephen King. It's pretty wild and insane, but it's an incredibly entertaining film. It's under 90 minutes, and the Alice Krieg, this lady who plays his mom in it, really gives a pretty good nuanced performance. I think that's really twisted and dark, and I don't know, man.
Cindy Pickett plays the teacher, and she's the mom that's in Son-in-Law.
That's it. Yeah.
And Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
And Ferris Bueller's Day Off. But yeah, this movie has a lot. Who it is? It's Glenn Shaddix, Otho from Beetlejuice. That's who the guy. Yeah.
Dude, these cameos: Stephen King,
Yeah.
John Landis, Joe Dante, Clive Barker, Toby Hooper, and Mark Hamill.
They're pretty much like, at least those directors, they're all in like one scene together.
Yeah.
At a crime scene.
Yeah, there's a crime scene at the beginning of the film. So I like it. I really highly recommend the movie. I've probably seen it 5 times since Preston put me onto it, and I like it. And you'll fall in love with a cat named Clovis and a very, very nice police officer who takes him on police chases with him. And he says this line that just Clovis.
Come here, little Clovis.
Yeah, it's just great. It really makes me happy. It's a wonderful movie. I don't know. It's just there's something about it. I think it's good. I don't know.
I think it's good. It's like it's a movie like that's just so out there, kind of like Malignant when we were talking about that a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Where it's just like so bonkers that you just like you can't help but love it and be like, man, somebody thought this up and just like
They did it.
I have no idea what their intentions were. If they thought it was going to be like the best thing, or if they just knew this was just like complete garbage and we're going to have complete fun. We're just going to have fun with it. Fun with it. No idea, but the wild ride that it is just so like you can't look away from it.
Yeah, this is hilarious. I was reading on Wikipedia about it, and it says Stephen King's wife wrote a treatment for a sequel that involved a women's basketball team. This is from a Mick Garris podcast. Says, I'm not sure how, I never read it, but King was excited that Tabby came up with this, and it was a sequel that nobody at the studio gave a shit about. They liked the money that the first one made, but it wasn't a prestige release by any means. That's awesome. I like it.
Made it.
Women's basketball too. All right, cool. Well, that's the first one here. Preston, you want to give us your first pick?
Yeah, I'll go with the shorter one first because I have more to say about the other one. But the first one I will go with is a 1976 film called Alice, Sweet Alice, also known as Communion.
I like that name better.
It predates horror classics like Halloween and Friday 13th. So it's kind of like Black Christmas, in this movie inspired like John Carpenter and Sean Cunningham. Like there's like tricks in here, like visual tricks that they do in here. Like there's undoubtedly they took inspiration from it because like nobody knows about it, this movie, and it just blows my mind that we're not like it's not a Halloween classic because it's really solid.
What do they call like a proto slasher or something like that?
Yeah. It definitely like laid the groundwork down. But I don't know. Film's really clever with like misdirection and things like that. But it gets better the more and more you watch it because there's like a lot of camera trickery and things like that are going on that makes it really fun and entertaining. But Arrow released this special edition, and it's about a 12-year-old girl named Alice, who's played by Paula E. Shepherd. She's really great in it, but she comes from a broken home but lives a Catholic life alongside her little sister Karen, who is played by Brooke Shields, a very young Brooke Shields. So there's some jealousy in the air, and there's repercussions because of the family's divorce, and then murders happen. So all signs point that it's Alice, but could a little girl actually kill someone and carry out the devil's business? That's the big question of the film and the fun of it as well. So the formula, you know, if you're familiar with the slasher genre, as many of the horror fans are, it may just seem like it adheres to the formula, but like this was like, you know, like I mentioned, like laid down the groundwork. And so it all just kind of comes down to if the director knows what they're doing. And so Alfred Soul, I think he knows exactly what he's doing. He does it really well. So like I mentioned, with like using like clever camera tricks and editing to play with the audiences. So thematically, there's a lot going on here, most notably in the religious department, as it was going to be called Communion. So it's not just blood and guts. There's more like family drama going on here with like horror elements sprinkled throughout. So those tend to make the best horror movies for me, or the most lasting ones. So yeah, the fact that it's not a bigger deal is a real head scratcher for me. But I'm so glad that Arrow put it out and tried to make it a little more known to people. And I love this Arrow release. Is just so beautiful. Like
I think I want to get it. Is it still available?
I think so. I don't know with like the slip and everything, but it's available. You should really get it. I think both of you guys would really, really like it.
It looks awesome.
Yeah,
it's got a great title.
I have that one too. I reviewed it. I think it was like maybe like I guess right when that release came out, I think, because I'm with you. It's like I think the poster on it says Psycho, The Omen, Carrie, and now Communion, like the one they have a Wikipedia, but it has some like giallo elements to it too. It doesn't feel like an American film. It almost feels like an Italian film at times with the way it's set up, especially with that downstairs pervert neighbor. It's just like there's so many cool things about it. But yeah, it's definitely crazy to think that it came out at the time it did. Like you mentioned, like, people weren't talking about slashers in 1976, but here this is.
Religious horror, is that what it is?
Yeah, a bit.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah, mixed with a little bit of Don't Look Now. So yeah,
which I think is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Don't Look Now is a trip.
All right, I'll go with my pick here. My first one I'm gonna do is Haunt.
Let's hear it.
This came out, I don't know if it was a Shudder original or if it, I guess, released and got picked up by Shudder, but it was in 2019. They just came out with a special edition Blu-ray that I have now from Ronin Flicks and produced with Shudder. It's got a ton of special features on it. It's kind of cool. It has like an intro with the directors. It's got feature interviews, audio commentary, behind the haunt, sound of the haunt, deleted scenes. So it's got a ton of stuff on it. It's an interesting film. I think Cole and I were talking offline about it. He's holding up the same one. But I'm looking at the reviews. I think it kind of got shit. It's like maybe a 6.5, not super highly rated on Rotten Tomatoes. It is definitely a low budget film, but I just really like what it did. And ever since I watched it, I just want to watch it every Halloween or every October. It's about Halloween night, kind of like an interesting, odd setup, but it's a girl that has an abusive boyfriend and she's trying to go out and have fun anyways, even though all of her friends think that she should dump her and ditch her. And they, mishappenly end up in a haunt where they just go by something when they're trying to avoid a car, and they see this haunt that they go to and drop off their cell phones. And it's just really cool kind of setup, and they get into it and you get to kind of experience it with them, which I like, which I think another film that's maybe like a more tame version of this is Hellfest. But when they go into this haunt, it's like they have these things that they can't tell if it's real or not, and hear screams, and at some point they actually think that these people might be killing the participants inside of the house. There's some cool body modification. I don't want to give too much away, but it's a crazy story, and there's some great kind of gags in it, and it's just all set in a haunted house, which kind of makes it cool with the masks and the different things that they get to experience with the cast, and kind of where it goes, which is a really kind of fucked up and dark ending. So the Blu-ray is awesome, and if you haven't seen it or have heard maybe mixed reviews on it, I definitely recommend it. Now they're promoting it. It's from the writer of a Quiet Place. I guess it would be, I don't know if it was the same year before he did Quiet Place or right after, but I didn't know that. And it's also produced by Eli Roth. So that's kind of, I guess, their big names to get people who haven't seen it into the film.
Nice.
Watched it.
Yeah, what'd you think about it?
Well, Max, it was a movie. No, So the cast is all right. It has Will Britton, this guy that's in this movie. Everybody Wants Some. He plays this character named Buter Perkins.
Which one is he in this?
He's Max.
Okay.
No, Nathan. You're Max.
He's the jock, the baseball guy.
Yeah. Okay. He's the baseball hat guy. The guy that has the UCL hat on. That I just thinking about the Champions League the whole time. But as a soccer fan. But no, he's in it. And there's a scene where they get into a tunnel, and that's when I kind of perked up, and I was with it up until right after a couple of the reveals. So the reveals were really interesting and fun. That character that follows them around ended up being pretty fascinating. I liked that quite a bit. And then they just kept trying to do a little too much. I think than they're capable of pulling off. And that's, it's hard to end a movie, and and that's what you see a lot of horror people do who, may not either have the budget or, the idea of how to end their movie. And, this one definitely gives its audience members who are like with the film, but at that point, a nice punch at the end, kind of similar to A Quiet Place. I will say it is funny that this movie is written by the people that did A Quiet Place, because they do the nail gag in this movie too, with the foot. The same thing. And so it's funny, you really see people putting the same shit, the same screenplay. And I don't want to bag on these dudes, but they wrote the screen for A Quiet Place, and what happened is when Krasinski and Michael Bay came on, they were like, okay, you guys get out of here, elbow them out of there.
Of course.
And then you see on A Quiet Place too, they just have based on by and John Krasinski like, nah, this is mine now.
Yep.
And so they were kind of like pushed aside. So you can see, you know, sadly, I think where their career is probably going, they're going to be able to get some stuff done and get some stuff made, but it's not going to be, because you can see the big dogs in Hollywood were like, just kind of scoot over.
Oh yeah, like
and I think that's kind of how they.
I'm gonna polish it up and make it better.
And
but, you know,
that's the thing. This has some really good stuff that I think somebody could have polished up to make it into a really fun movie, like the same tone as like a Christopher Landon movie.
It
like
definitely
The Happy
goes
Death
dark
or Freaky or something.
It definitely
like that.
goes dark and stays dark after the halfway point for the entire movie. And they have a really funny part where they almost have the abusive boyfriend become a hero, which I was like, they're not going to do this. And I won't say what happens, but it's kind of funny that scene, especially how they kind of wrote that in, like, no, they're not going to do that.
I mean, maybe it could be that when I was finishing up the film, Erica had gotten home from work. It was like 10 p.m. and I was like, oh my God, let's just watch Midnight Mass in his last 10 minutes of the. So I will say that. Other than that, I was pretty engaged for at least half of the film. So
no, you're right. It definitely starts up Halloween party, cool haunt stuff, and then they kind of take the ending a little bit long on it. And yeah, like you said, it's hard to stick landing. Do we like do a cut? Do we stop here? Do we have them get killed? Do we have them go into the house?
Right.
And do some other things on there?
The thing was, I was very familiar with this film going into it, so
for sure,
I was so I had a lot of information on it, but you know, I think there's stuff to enjoy, especially the body modification stuff.
Oh, absolutely. All right, what do you got? It's your last pick here.
Oh, it is my turn, isn't it?
It is,
dude. So I'm glad we talked about Haunt because I watched it based on what you said. So I was like, let me go out on a limb here. I will watch a movie a friend recommends. Even though
definitely, especially
have it,
especially a Halloween movie that's like Indians, not, you know, they actually lean into the Halloween horror of it for sure.
Is this good artwork, fellas? What do we think? Is this good poster artwork?
Looks like something you pick up at a Spencer's.
Interesting. It's not half as good as Wrinkles the Clown, is it?
No.
So I decided to choose. I have a movie that I got when I got really into Warner Archives, and it's by a really fucking dirty ass dude named Abel Ferrara, who did the Driller Killer and The King of New York and
Addiction.
Addiction.
The Addiction.
Oh, the one with the woman from The Haunting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that? Yeah, and he does a lot of shit with Willem Dafoe. Now I want to know about The Addiction. I've been wanting to see that movie.
Me too.
Watch it. It's great.
Don't you? Okay, sidebar. You have that on Arrow, right?
Yeah.
Is it just a UK release?
No, they released
because I can't find it. Let me see it. Yeah, that's sick. That's cool. Oh man, look at her cool sunglasses.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Like, it's a low-key vampire movie that uses drugs. They treat vampirism like drugs. So
you know, like, what it probably is
they get like dirty blood, clean blood, and stuff like that.
You know what probably is he has the flip cover of it. That's why, because the main cover on it is like it looks a lot different if you're trying to find it.
Oh, that's the alternate artwork. Yes, that's it.
Yep.
That's it. Yeah, that's sick. Well, Abel Ferrara is cool, man. He did Body Snatchers. I don't really know why he did this remake of Body Snatchers, but I'm a big fan of like pod people movies. I think that's really, I mean, you know, the original Body Snatchers with Kevin McCarthy is great. I love that movie. And you know, the one from the 70s with Jeff Goldblum and Donald Sutherland and Brooke Adams, I have on Blu-ray somewhere in here. I love it. And so his take on it is really much more like military, you know, if I remember, isn't it like really military?
Yeah.
So this take is like really military. See, the thing is, I was getting this mixed up for a second with Tom Savini's Night of the Living Dead, which is also very good and underrated. movie, but this movie was really cool, really entertaining. I really liked it for what it was doing, and kind of, I'm somebody who's kind of like anti-authority kind of stuff, but it has Meg Tilly in it, and she's very really good. Forrest Whitaker is in it. I'm looking at the back of the case right now and remembering, but I don't have a lot to say about it other than it is kind of a
the
really
imagery
fun
in
movie.
it is really really crazy. I mean, like as you see in that cover art
Yeah.
there, like there's a sequence in there when they're like somebody's asleep, and then it's like going into their eyes. Like
Yes.
it's very bizarre. So like Abel Ferrara is really good at just kind of, as I made that joke last week with the low frequency kind of thing, like he just does very creepy stuff in a very low key way. Like he just doesn't go super loud with it, but it just kind of gets under your skin. In this case, very literally. So yeah,
I like
he's really good.
the mid pod action like you're talking about. The original, it's all like, there's a pod and it's creating someone that looks like them, but these ones are like where the pods are like trying to like take them over, and like they have like half transformations, or there's a lot of cool scenes like that. And definitely right, like the military base and how they have it kind of set up, which is interesting because you'd think they'd be able to, take it out really quickly or take care of it, and nope, still spreads like wildfire.
Yeah, it's an interesting take. I mean, I'll have to check my letterbox to see when I watched it. But yeah, I mean, I remember really just being so happy I discovered this movie. So I'm pretty sure you can rent it on iTunes for $4. I think that's what I did, and then I bought this.
Yeah, the
These
scream they have is awesome too. The pod scream.
Yes, absolutely. The pod screams are great. Um, And yeah, this one I think is like $20 or something like that. Or if maybe you can find it on eBay. I don't know.
I have that same one too from Warner Archives.
But it's pretty cool. And then just quick shout out, Preston put me onto this one too, Night School. He told me to buy it one day. And it's really good. It's a really cool kind of murder mystery slasher movie.
Very I like
good.
those. I haven't seen that one, but I like that style. So
all of these fellas under 90 minutes, all three.
Okay. Money.
87, 89, 89. Watch them. They're good.
I think mine are too. I think mine's 92 minutes and 90 minutes. So we picked the get in and get out ones.
Hell 98, yeah. Except Alice, Sweet Alice is 107.
Of course.
But it's got drama in it. It's got family drama in it.
Yes.
That's fine.
Absolutely. And a cool mask.
Oh, Alice, Sweet Alice VHS on interesting on eBay. Oh, that's cool. That's some cool artwork. Preston, I'm gonna have to send you this. I have to go, so you guys have to carry on without me for the rest of the podcast. But
no worries.
It's been real. Sorry to leave so anticlimactically.
Enjoy.
All right,
like VHS 94, eject.
Yeah, eject. Peace.
Later. All right, Preston, what do you got next for your second film here?
Yes, this one I like legit try to watch every year. Like it, I discovered it a couple of years ago, and since then, this is the one where I'm really like, I don't know why people are not talking about this one.
Yeah,
and it's another archive collection, Warner Archive collection. It's From Beyond the Grave, and so just a little context. Like I am not a horror anthology person. Most of the time I don't really get into them outside of like Trick or Treat and things like that, like Creep Show. Like there's some short stories that are good, but I feel like tonally they never quite make it work. And like the the connective tissue is just not good. Like it's most of the time just like some dude or some person like telling stories and they just go through it. And so this one, I mean, it's antique shop ran by Peter Cushing, ladies and gentlemen. He runs this antique shop called Temptations Limited. So this is way before Needful Things by Stephen King. I have that book somewhere over there. So the idea is that customers come into the shop, they're drawn into these various items, and these items are are cursed, especially if people are dishonest or dishonest going in or have some sinister agenda. So things go crazy based off of whatever they grab. So the first one is called what's it called? The Gate Crasher, and it's got David Warren in it, and you may recognize this guy from the horror community if you've seen like The Omen or Titanic. Mr. Lockley's buddy. So he goes into the antique shop and is looking for an antique mirror, and he finds this antique mirror, and he sees that or he asks how much is it, and he said it's an antique mirror, and it's very special, and it's like 250 quid or something like that. And he's like, no, this isn't legit, it's a knockoff, it's a replica of the real thing, I'll give you 25 for it. So like, I don't know, 1/10 of the price. And then this brings us into the first story. So he's going in, he knows that it's the real thing, he's trying to like swindle Peter Cushing's character knows this, so he gives people like the chance to be like good people or bad people, and shit happens to them if they're bad. And so that's what happens. So the first one, he takes his mirror back to his flat and tells stories to his people that he has over for parties and such things, that he's like, yeah, rip this old guy off. And like some of the guests like comment that, oh, this mirror looks like it's like it was owned by a medium, like they would have this sort of thing. And so this springs the idea that they should hold a seance. So they'll have like a little spiritual get together, and they'll try to like talk to people from beyond the grave, so like the dead world, and so they get in communication with them. And so there's all these like little camera tricks here and there that they do, like the moment where they're all gathered around, the camera will go around them and put the candle like red dead center of the camera, and so in the flame will start doing interesting things throughout the night as they go on, and things start getting scarier and scarier. But the big thing that happens is that there's somebody in the spirit realm that gets in contact with David Warren's character and is kind of like puppeteering him to do things, and like things just kind of escalate from there. So that's what the first one's about. And just to know, like that's just like this, like I mentioned, like this is a 98-minute movie, and for them to already just like have that meaty of a plot is really crazy. And there's 4 stories in it, so that's 1 of 4, and then there's an epilogue that kind of ties everything together.
I think they're all pretty strong too. I mean, the Gate Crasher one too, where he's like trying to get him to like kill for him too, and he just like ends up with a dead body and no memory of it too. I think at times like that, it is really crazy when you say the amount of time it is, and that it is just 4, they fit 4 segments and a wraparound in there too.
Yeah, like the spirit attaches to him and like makes him into like a modern day Jack the Ripper. And there's the production design of the room, like there's it looks like an antique shop, so there's always like something to look at. But I won't spoil like what all that happens, but there's a montage sequence in here where it goes like like a ghost story, like the movie A Ghost Story, where like the way that it shows the passage of time within the other side of the mirror. Really fascinating stuff. Second one's called Act of Kindness. This is probably my favorite one, and it stars Donald Pleasance and his daughter. It's a very British feeling kind of movie. So Donald Pleasant plays like a former serviceman, ex-serviceman. He stands outside of train stations and sells matches and laces, and he like carries it in like this little tray with a string attached around his neck. And so he catches the eye of this like middle-class man, and this middle-class man has like a connection with this guy. Like he's just like very fascinated with what he's doing and how he lives his life, and like where he's come from. And then we follow this guy home this middle class man to his home, and you just kind of see like what miserable life he lives. Like he's just doesn't feel passion for anything in the world anymore, and he finds something within this man, and so he gets the idea that he wants to go to this antique shop and try to find a medal so he can be pose as like a decorated serviceman.
Yeah.
So he just like makes up this story and then goes to the antique shop to buy a medal or replace a medal that he says like, I lost it and I can't get it. And then so Peter Cushing's like, well, you got to bring back like that you actually earned this, and so you need a certificate of replacement. And so he gives them the chance to do the right thing or the wrong things. So he steals the medal, and then crap happens from there. But I don't want to talk too much about that one, just because I really think that one's very special. But it's got like a folk horror aspect within an urban setting that's really good. And Donald Pleasant's daughter is like super creepy in it. Part 3 is the Elemental, and it deals with like a snuff box. So a guy goes into the antique shop looking for a snuff box, and then he switches the labels on like one, and so like one's like 25, and then he gives it for the 5, and so he switches it, and then when he pays for it, it's like, how much is this? And it's like, it looks like it's 5. I guess that's right. And then he's like, I'll give you 4. So he's just like taking it lower. Real shitbag. But this one's really fun.
It's most like straightforward, like easiest to explain one too.
Yeah, this one's like a tonally kind of getting into like it's a tone departure a little bit. It's a little more fun and upbeat, kind of comedic a little bit too, because it's got like a Jacqueline Hyde type of story that transpires. But yeah, that one's very enjoyable. And then the 4th one kind of brings everything back around to like this creepy vibe again, and it's called The Door. And as somebody who writes, like this is really fascinating territory, and especially for anybody who's like in their house and often dreamt about like, man, what if I open this door and it takes me to a new place? So this one, they find an old door in the antique shop, same kind of stuff. It's just like left for them to make the right decision, the wrong decision, make the wrong decision, things happen. So they get the door, and then they, put it in their like writer's room, and then they get like access to a spiritual realm. And so it also does some like really neat things within that. So I don't want to speak too much about that one either, but the epilogue definitely will not talk about that. But for all that it's worth, each of those stories are just really good. They're super solid on their own, and the way that they all connect is really great. And Peter Cushing, like I've talked about before on this podcast, I love that guy, and he's more than just Star Wars. He's more than just Van Helsing too. He makes really great Van Helsing. But I don't know. He has some lines here and there. He says like naughty or something like that. Like he totally knows like what's going on, and that people are being completely dishonest with him, and then they have what's coming from him. So I don't know, for new audiences, it's kind of like what if somebody went into the Warrens collection and started messing with that, and then things would unleash in kind of like a Annabelle 3 kind of fashion. Yeah, super great. I think it's probably my favorite horror analogy or anthology film. So yeah, I really enjoyed it quite a bit. And so it was from like 1974, I think, and it was directed by Kevin Connor, who did like Motel Hell and some other like Journey to Center Earth type of movies. Yeah, the fact that we're not talking about it more and how it's like not a Halloween classic really boggles my mind. So I think people should check it out. It's really solid. Good cast.
It's definitely like the whole, kind of, I know it's 4 different stories, but yeah, the vibe they all give off is like this gothic or kind of like fall feel to it too at the same time, and just creepy stories. I think anthologies kind of lend themselves to October and Halloween too. It's always like you said, lessons, or kind of reminds you of all those shows or series everyone used to watch as a kid around these times. So
yeah, it's like Goosebumps for adults, but like strung together in a really interesting way. So yeah, that's from Beyond the Grave.
All right, so I will close things off here with the movie that I kind of knew about for a while, and I just never watched it. I don't know if it's like I didn't understand the premise, or I wasn't sure if I'd like it, or if I just was kind of waiting for Halloween and never really picked it up during Halloween. And it's the WNUF Halloween special. This just got a release this month on Blu-ray, which I think you told me about too. And I was looking through Vinegar Syndrome. It's TerrorVision through Vinegar Syndrome, and it has a really cool physical media case to kind of start things off with. Looks like a VHS tape, has lots of different textile things from, stickers, and the whole entire back case actually is literally VHS instructions and kind of what you're dealing with. And then on the inside, you have the actual movie. But it's a cool concept. It's was made in 2013. It's similar to like Blair Witch, but what if Blair Witch was a news presentation? And they do a lot of interesting things in it. It's technically called, I guess on Wikipedia at least, is comedy horror film, because they have a whole broadcast that just kind of brings you back to your childhood as Halloween, which I think is its best piece of the film. I'm not sure if it has an exact date as to when it was set in, but it looks like early 90s.
I think it's on it. It says 87.
Oh yeah, you're right. It does. So very early 90s, 87. But it's just kind of cool how it goes. So you start off and you have like a news crew dressed up for Halloween. You have some fast forwarding where someone actually is fast forwarding and it looks like you're playing a VCR tape. I know they put it out on VHS, which is really cool too. But just as you go through it's like you're watching a news segment at your house for a cool Halloween special that's coming on. They have some hilarious commercials, some that are good, some that are bad. They have some random news segments too in there, and it literally looks exactly like what you'd expect from this time period, down to the frame size that they use on the film, down to the grain, and even all of like the corny jokes and everything. It literally just brings you back to Halloweens that you had as a child. But the crux of the film and what we have is this hilarious character. It's Frank, right?
Mm-hmm.
He is a guy who I don't know if he always does this, but he just kind of seems like a reporter that he has like a Christmas special too, where they have other things like that that's going on. But he goes to this house where there was a series of murders committed. It was a son killing and beheading his parents and then taking them down to the basement. It's been locked for 20 years, and they're going to go into it with a priest and a pair of supernatural, spiritual, paranormal investigators. It's a husband and wife couple, and have a cat. That's part of their team. So I don't want to give away the whole story, but it's things go wrong as they're going on in there. They try to perform a seance. He tries to get the priest to perform an exorcism. Things go wrong, and as everything's happening and progressing, they're treating it as like a newscast. So they cut back to the producer. They try to go away, and he wants to stick with it. Like something horrible happens, and he still has everyone sit down and tries to like continue the segment. They lose their cat, and he's like, well, we'll find him, let's just keep going, or all these bad things start happening, and then there's a kind of a huge climax to it. But I don't think the movie necessarily is just about the story. Like that piece feels kind of Blair Witch, or I guess more Paranormal Activity, for what happens at the end of it. But I guess it's kind of close to Hell House LLC too. It isn't in the same vein, especially the sequel. But it would be a perfect movie to throw on at Halloween if you had a party or Halloween party. It's something that I think is cool to revisit, but may not be for everyone, just due to if you're trying to sit down and watch a movie, you may not, or you were born in this age, you may not enjoy like the VHS fast forwarding or the commercials. They literally do full blown like 3-minute commercials on a fake product, and I like it.
Yeah, they go full Tarantino.
They do the full commercials on. I think they have a list of it too, which I was trying to remember. Parents Against Partying, got Phil's Carpet Warehouse, King of Castle Lane. They have like these albums. They have a tampon commercial. They have like these political commercials in there too. So it's just really interesting. But I think it's like perfect Halloween night if you threw this on while you're having a party, just to kind of set the mood. And then also I think everyone should definitely watch it. I'd be curious to see if people out there revisit this one every year or not, because I think that it would be maybe one you have to skip every few years because it's not the mood in the story. It's more of just kind of like the feeling that you get watching it, being transported back to where you were when you were a kid, and when Halloween was, I guess maybe not more fun, but more pure and more, childlike. What did you think about this one? What's your relationship with the film? Have you seen it a lot before, or just kind of recently when you picked up this Blu-ray?
I had heard all about it when people were talking a lot about it in 2013 and beyond. I think Red Letter Media did a special on it, and they focused a lot on it, and so I felt like I saw it. So I didn't watch it for the first time until I got my own copy of that.
Oh, awesome.
So I was pretty new to it as well, even though I was very familiar with it for a couple of years. And so, because the only way that you could watch it for a while was if you had one of those VHS tapes that they had.
Such a cool idea to do it that way too.
Yeah.
And then I think they went to Amazon Prime, which is like the total opposite.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. I think it does a great job of like it's a very detailed movie, and I think that's what makes it a lot of fun, recapturing the 80s and like how like news stations back then would just do the craziest things to try to boost their ratings. So stuff like that was really enjoyable, and the paranormal stuff and like where it goes from beyond the 30-minute mark, when it kind of like tonally shifts a little bit. I think that's when it really finds its groove, and you're like, okay, now I know what this is, and I'm really enjoying myself.
Me too, because when you're watching it, like you said, the first 30 minutes is just the news. So it's news, and they're wearing Halloween and making stupid Halloween jokes and telling news stories. And like you said, I think one I texted that was like, so the old man killed an 8-year-old kid dressed as G.I. Joe because he thought he was Viet Cong, or like he was having PTSD. Like just a horrible story that they throw in there. That's definitely that dark comedy aspect to it. But Frank Stewart, that character, is great in there. And I don't think we talked about it, but the special features on here is cool. They have a couple audio commentaries. They have cutting room commercials, bloopers. They have rewinding the fast forward segments to see more of the commercials that they did, kind of how they aged it and did that, which I think is really cool. I mean, down to especially at the beginning of when he's at the haunted house and everyone's around there. It's just their mannerisms, what they're wearing, how they're acting. It just totally it fits that exactly. And it is cool, like you said, attention to detail that they took on it, from aging it to, probably remembering from their childhood what they saw on Halloween and kind of trying to recreate it.
Yeah, it was special. And when I shared it on my Instagram, the director Crystal Martina, he tweeted at me and said, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm working on the second one right now, so they're making a second one.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what that's going to be. Is Halloween still, or a new spin-off, or the same?
I don't know if it's going to be a different year to kind of like that's also what makes it fun. It's kind of like when you like go into like an old drugstore or recycled books or something like that. You can find stuff, and you like look through the old magazines and you see the advertisements, and you're like, oh man, they were smoking cigarettes and they have beer advertisements in here and all kinds of stuff. And so that's part of what makes it special. It just like captures an era. So I hope I don't know if they do like some of the 90s. I don't think they'll jump all the way to because it's, if they're going to do like a Halloween special, I would assume that they're going to keep it within that VHS realm for I don't know how much more they're going to go beyond this, but they got to maybe do like early 90s or something.
I think so too. Just kind of keep VHS, or even just like a big boxy like clamshell DVD style case or something like that. It could figure out something. But it's definitely a cool one. I'm glad. I mean, I think it's the perfect way to own it, is in physical media. It's looking on your shelf around this time. I think it's easy, especially at 82 minutes, to add it to your Halloween watch pile. So it's been cool to talk about these. It's so easy to just say, the ones that everyone does, trick or treat, Halloween, Halloween 3. It's like everyone already knows those, and we can obviously talk about those, and we throw those in our pile too. But it's better to kind of get on some things that everyone might be seeing, especially before next week, when we're going to be all catching up after we watch Halloween Kills. So that's gonna be really exciting.
Yeah. If I was speaking honestly, I mean, it would be like It Follows and Halloween. I have like so many movies that I just Nightmare on Elm Street stuff
Yeah.
and things like that. Like those are always in my rotation. But yeah, every once in a while in there, I like to throw in a curveball just because. I mean, as we were talking about at one point about how every year we watch like the Halloween movies and Christmas movies, and we see those movies more than our own favorite movies.
Yeah.
And so to just kind of switch a gear every now and then and just check out something that you haven't seen, and then you're like, oh man, yeah, you'll find something like From Beyond the Grave or
Yeah.
WNF UF that are just truly special. And so I'm so glad that we got like some connections with some of these boutique labels, because otherwise I would never check any of these out ever. And that's just what's so special about it. You'll find like these really cool artwork and all these cool special features, and they just like really like suck you into this like world that's never seems like it's never been discovered before. So yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it definitely is. I put up a stack. I think I posted it on my Instagram, but I tried to do the same thing this year. It's like I have staples, like I watch Hocus Pocus, I'll watch, the certain ones, but this year, like I added Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. May not be the best movie, but it fits that Halloween fall vibe amazingly. You talked about Annabelle 3. I put that on my list. Annabelle Comes Home, and then some usual ones. I kind of like finding movies that have that fall vibe. So Silence of the Lambs I threw on there. I tried to see some more Hammer horror because they're very, it's like it's the mood, it's the setting, it's everything about it that kind of just has that same feeling for it. So I tried to throw in some other ones, but one other favorite I have is Creep Show. Just kind of same thing with that anthology feeling, and Stephen King, and the segments in between just kind of really fit perfectly. So lots of fun choices to choose from.
Yeah, I know I've mentioned that I'm a Harry Potter fan on here, but I think the third one, which is my favorite Harry Potter movie and probably one of my favorite movies ever, I think that's the one movie. If I could just be honest, there's a I always think of this. There's a moment in a green room where they're like listing off their favorite bands and their but they're like doing it more for show. They're not being honest with themselves. If there was nobody in the room, what would you honestly like? What band would you listen to?
Yeah.
So I think about those things. And so Harry Potter 3, Prisoner of Azkaban is like such a Halloween movie because it deals with like werewolves and things like that, and such like a dark and moody film. And so I have to watch that every year. I mean, I watch that movie probably twice a month. No joke.
Well, it's in a perfect spot too, because those movies all have the fall vibes, going back to school,
Christmas with the first
Christmas
one.
Yeah, they definitely usually put their different spin on it. And I mean, especially that one probably got elevated due to who directed it, which is not someone who you'd expect to be directing a Harry Potter sequel.
Yeah, Alfonso Cuarón. Yeah, when I watch that movie and I see the transitions that they make, like they put so much thought into the transitions, like with the Whomping Willow and everything, killing a bird and things like that. And I'm like, he's doing stuff like out of the movie Contact, where you can watch, like if you're on like Instagram every once in a while, you'll see like film pages that like do really cool shots, and there's a shot in Contact where like the camera goes into the mirror and then it comes out of it and does weird things like that. And they do that in Harry Potter with like the mirror that they have with the wardrobe. And so there's just like the craft is like insanity. And man, I wish Alfonso Cuarón could have just directed all of the other ones.
I know it is funny when you pop them in there. It's like those are ones who you usually just pick, like, oh, like a studio staple guy, or like, we have such a detailed book already that you don't. I mean, obviously world building is huge, but to have someone that's got 11 Academy Award nominations, won awards for director, editing, and cinematography is just insane that he was able to kind of put that on there. That's definitely my favorite of the films too, and definitely one that I revisit at least yearly, whether it's for a fall mood, a rainy day, or Christmas, or whatever it is.
Yeah. Well, I'm always happy when we talk about Harry Potter, but that's not our podcast. But yeah, this was nice. I like talking about movies that we don't normally talk about.
I'm
wouldn't
excited.
otherwise watch,
And
Halloween here.
and if you're listening to this, we still need to figure out what we're going to do for that fourth and final week episode. I mean, I don't think we talked so much Halloween before.
Yeah. Well, I guess at that point we probably will feel compelled to either talk about Last Night in Soho or Antlers.
That's
so
true.
That may fill that spot.
Hopefully, I need to probably see it like that. See it that opening, because what's Friday? Is Friday Halloween or no? It's
like a
okay, yeah. So if that comes out on the 29th, then we can just delay that episode till like the 31st or I just feel like we can't push it to the 1st, but either way we'll have something fun horror wise to talk to you guys this Halloween. It's always fun to get in here weekly, and appreciate the support and you listening to us. You can follow the show at Scream Cinema Pod on Instagram or Twitter, and then you can follow my personal Instagram at Screaming Cinema. I think we talked about it the last episode, but posting daily videos over on YouTube, and also posting daily posts over on Instagram, whether it's just new movies coming in, unboxings, whatever you have. So it's always fun to kind of celebrate October. I feel like it's just a crazy time, and I don't know about you, but November hits and I'm ready to I think we all talk about it, do maybe like horror adjacent or kind of change it up a little bit, start watching some Academy stuff or some palate cleansers after just knocking back 30 40 horror movies in a month.
Yeah, totally. You can find me on Twitter at Preston Barta, and then you can find me on Instagram where I'm more active at Blu-ray Dad. And you can go into my link on my Instagram page and find everything that I have going on. And so last week we talked about Welcome to the Blumhouse. I'll have interviews with Jason Blum that's coming out. And so we talked about Welcome to the Blumhouse, and what else? I guess I can quickly mention about the other two films that we didn't get to talk about last week, because at that point they weren't out yet. So there is Madres and The Manor, and I would have to say of the films that I've seen, The Manor is the best one, and it has Barbara Hershey in it.
Oh, awesome.
And she's fantastic in it. I think overall still the movie is just I get kind of tired. Blumhouse Television does this, especially if you're very familiar with Into the Dark. There's a presidential episode where they do this insane asylum type of stuff, and the person that's in there that you're following the entire time, they're like, I'm not insane, and the whole time all the people that are working at the facility, they're like, no, you're crazy. And so and then you have one nurse who's a good person, and then they're like, you're not crazy, and so that happens in that. This also happens in The Manor, except it takes place at a nursing home. And so it does that, and so it's a bit tiring that way, but I love it when horror movies do this Get Out type of thing. I remember watching them again and Get Out, and then when you see Lakeith Stanfield walking down the neighborhood and you see something crazy happening, he's like, fuck this.
Yes.
And so Barbara Hershey does stuff like that where she's like, I'm not dealing with this, and so she's the best part of it, and so she's absolutely worth the reason why it's worth checking out. But it's a little you'll know what's gonna happen because you're familiar with that kind of thing. But there is a big departure at the end that does not make sense to me whatsoever. I don't know why they took that direction. I feel like it just completely abandons character entirely, but it was a choice. And so at one point, so on one hand, I have to admire that they try to do something different. And so that's The Manor. And then Madres it's okay. Of the other films, it tries to really tell something that's actively going on in the world. And so at the end of the movie, it tells you it's based on true stories of mothers who are from Mexico, or I'll probably butcher the plot description a little bit, but it has to deal with like people who try to like sabotage like pregnancies and things like that.
Interesting.
For like keeping like the white race pure kind of thing, I guess.
Wow.
So it's very, very crazy to think about that things like this are happening in the world. But
absolutely.
I just think that it just doesn't handle, very similar to when I was describing Bingo Hell last week. Like there's a way to kind of articulate things, and if you're dealing with this serious subject matter, you got to kind of go about it in a fascinating way too. You can't just like completely depend on the story to carry the weight for you. But you can read that story on paper and be like, oh, it's interesting. But then when you watch the whole movie, you're like, nah, I'll just stick with Googling it. So exactly. That's just the case here. So overall this year, in comparison to last year, Welcome to Blumhouse wasn't as firing in all cylinders as much. I guess that's the case with all the television stuff that they're doing. If I can speak honestly, like Into the Dark, like there's some fun ones in there, like when they do like goofy horror comedy stuff, like Puka Lives, like we were talking about last week. That's when they find something, and I'm like, yes, this is like what the new Chucky movie should have been. Puka, and so I appreciate that they're given like female filmmakers and different types of filmmakers who have like different cultures and everything. They're bringing those voices to the screen. Like I think it's great that they're giving that opportunity. It's just like I don't know if it's like because of budget or what, they're not able to like execute it in a very satisfying or compelling way. It just kind of ends up being like, that was okay.
Yeah, I'm curious to see that, because obviously they're a company that really, is keen to financials, a lot of it. So like, does it get the job done for what they have, or would it be worth doing 2 bigger budget movies where you could really explore what the ideas were for the filmmaker? I know, I get the concept. It's more voices, more people, more content, more ability for people to find something that they like, or that they can get their craft better. But it seems like it'd be better off doing 6 instead of 12, or 2 instead of 4. So
yeah, I don't know what the right formula would be for that, but at least they're trying something. But I think they'll hopefully crack the code somewhere, or they'll have like one breakthrough film that will kind of get people's head turning towards it. When I talked to Jason Blum, he says like right now, I don't know if they have plans to go forward with it, but I hope they do. I think like I mentioned, like they just need to kind of figure it out, and as more reviews pop up, maybe they'll see like, okay, maybe we need to put more dedication towards this or that. This is like what audiences are craving, and so they'll figure it out in time, as they did with a few of those Into the Dark episodes. So I trust that it'll work. But if you've seen enough Blumhouse movies, there's great ones, and then there's ones where they just make it because it was either like they had some contract in place that they needed to fulfill, or they just need to get content cranking, so they can finance some of those like Jordan Peele projects, or
exactly right. They like take their shots, and then they put the things that cost $5 million to make, knowing even if it does horribly, it's still going to bring in 10.
yeah So I wonder like how successful these will be, and I don't know what the numbers were for last year's films, but I
guess it all depends on how much Amazon pays them to sell it to them, and what kind of deals they have on that.
True, but yeah, that's it. So yeah, you can go on my Instagram to find stuff like that. So yeah.
All right, awesome. Well, we'll sign off, and we'll see you next week for Halloween Kills. Thanks, guys.